It's summer and we're back with the Le Mans project again. I have a few parts that we need to put on, and you can see it's out of the garage. It's uncovered from boxes, which is pretty great. And yeah, there's a few things that we need to do. So I got a few parts since the last time I saw you. I got a speed sensor for the transmission, and I guess LS swaps like to have speed sensors so they run better, I guess. So whatever. I got this one from Dakota Digital. I think it was like 60 or 70 bucks, something like that. More expensive than I wanted it to be, but what the hell. I also have brake lines. I don't know if you remember, back in one of the earlier videos, I found that somebody put really short brake lines or brake hoses on the front of this. And because of that, you can't turn the wheel all the way one way or the other, or it'll rip the brake line or brake hose. So I got longer brake hoses. These are supposed to be the correct ones for the car. So hopefully they fit, and hopefully they're the right length. I haven't actually measured them to see if they're right or not, so that'll be a nice surprise. Also, when I backed out of the garage, you may have noticed that there was no reverse lights. And there's no reverse lights because there is no linkage hooked from the transmission to the steering column. And on this car, there's a reverse lockout linkage that goes from the transmission. It goes up the firewall and to the steering column, and that's what turns the reverse lights on. So because we don't have this linkage, there's no reverse lights. So the problem is that I have a B&M ratchet shifter in this car, unfortunately. I would really like to have a stock shifter, but I don't have one, and they're expensive. So instead I bought the linkage, and I'm gonna make this work with the B&M ratchet shifter. There's other ways that you can go about this, but this is the way I'm doing it. Lastly, I got a transmission pan gasket and a filter. This thing leaks transmission fluid like you wouldn't believe. So what I'm gonna do is fix that with a new gasket, and if I'm gonna do the gasket, I might as well put a new filter in it. So these are a few things I'm gonna get going on. I don't think I'll get them all done today. So I think to start this episode, I think I'm gonna do the brake hoses, because that's an easy win. I think I can do it myself pretty quick, and it's probably not going to bore you to death. So, let's get started. Before I get started, I just want to do a quick shout out to this thing. This is a deal that I bought just before Christmas of 2018, and I got this really cheap. The way I got it really cheap was I bought it in pieces. Rather than buying a whole kit with the batteries and the charger and all that stuff, I bought each piece separately, and I got some on eBay, I got some on Craigslist. All of it was brand new, but because I bought them each individually from different sellers, I ended up saving like several $100s on this. So I think I spent like 75 bucks on the actual gun, and then like maybe another 75 bucks on the battery, and then the charger as well. So I got this for like 150 bucks, when normally this is like huge money. And this thing is now my favorite tool. So I highly recommend one of these. If you don't have one of these, Harbor Freight has them too. Different brand, of course. But I hear really good things about the Harbor Freight ones. And this means you don't have to run a compressor all the time, which is pretty sweet. So anyways, shout out to Milwaukee for this. I always like to put the tires under the car, just in case things get weird and it falls off the jack or whatever, or jack stand. This is a backup plan. All right, so I got my new hoses here. We're gonna take them out and compare the length of them and see if it's different. All right, so here's the one that's on there. Looks like it goes like this. And you can see there's quite a bit of difference here. Oh, I almost think it might actually be too long. But, you know, I can always tie this up a little bit. So hopefully it won't rub on anything. That'll be my next challenge. I'll get the new one on there, and I gotta make sure it doesn't rub. It looks like it has this this extra rubber sleeve on it to make sure that it doesn't bend too much. So I don't know, we'll see. We'll put it on there. It's better than one that's too short. And in fact, the really funny thing here is that if you come down here, hopefully there's enough light where you can see this, but you can see the actual hose is ripped. So that is pretty fantastic. You can actually see the damage. So yeah, this hose is trash. All right, so let's get to work. Ah, man, of course that's super tight. Looks like it hasn't been off like in a million years. All right, actually not in terrible shape considering how rusty it is. There we go. All right, so now let's try and crack this thing loose. Whoops, wrong end. Well, that's nice. It's always nice when you can get the bleeder or the brake line cracked loose, because a lot of the time it'll be stuck and you'll end up destroying the brake line, and then you get to make a new brake line. So I'm gonna call that a win. All right, so now that we got that loose, I can pretty much disconnect this from by hand. I'm gonna do the bottom half. Oh, there's the brake fluid. Found it. One of the cool things that is nice about these brake hoses that I bought is they come with the copper crush washers and new bolts, which is pretty great. So hopefully this will all go together smoothly. All right, let's disconnect this end. Oops, I think I got a little dirt in there. Plenty of fluid. All right. All right, I already see a problem, but I'm gonna deal with that in a few minutes. Now let's pull this out. Boy, I am making a mess. All right, well that's good news. Looks like the bolt that came with it is the right size, so that's pretty awesome. All right, let's try and tighten this thing up. Pretty sure I'm using the wrong size here. What size is this? 1/2 inch? I feel like this bolt is, it's a metric size, I think. All right, let me go get a metric wrench. What are we thinking, 13? Let's try it out. Oh, 14? 12? Oh, it's 12. Okay. Well, I'd say that went pretty well. Other than the gigantic mess that I made. All right. So now I'm gonna tighten this up. Whoa, hello. Okay, so now, I don't think you can see the problem here, but the problem is, I can't get this clip on there. All right, so I think we're gonna have to figure out a solution to that. I'm gonna scrape away some of the rust and see what happens. Oh. All right, so here is a fun little discovery. So I can't get the C-clip on this brake hose. And that seems kind of strange, right? So what I just discovered though is this bracket, it bolts onto the frame. So obviously I could take this off and cut it and weld it and do whatever I want with it and it won't be a big deal. But the other thing I noticed is this is actually 2 layers thick. So you can see I can stick my screwdriver in here and actually like pry this up and down, which means I could cut this right along here and make it half the thickness. And if that's what I do, then I'm pretty confident I can get a clip on there. So let's cut this, see what the heck happens, am I right? Well, look at that. Ta-da! And guess what? Now I can put that clip on. Alright, so I'm just going to hang that there for a moment. And I'm going to grind this smooth so it's not as sharp and dangerous. And then I'm going to put that clip on and we're going to move to the other side. Actually, we got to bleed the brakes first. Whoops, forgot about that. Alright, not perfect, but pretty close. So now I'm going to cut this bracket off so I don't have to remove the brake line. Okay, here's my fancy clip. Oh, get on there. Mint. All right, so now let's just bleed this caliper and we'll be good to go. All right, so a long time ago, I bought a self-bleeder kit because, as you know, I pretty much work by myself for the most part. So I have used this in the past and I didn't think it worked very well, but we're gonna try it again today. The rubber hose on the end of it ripped off. So I'm gonna go ahead and resolve that. All right, problem solved. We'll get rid of this junk. I don't need that. All right, now we're just gonna stuff this on here. All right, and then here's my kombucha. So if you haven't ever drank this, let me tell you, it's delicious. But more importantly, it's a great glass bottle to put brake fluid in. So we're gonna just go ahead and set this aside, maybe right in this region. Looks pretty good. And then we're gonna crack this loose and pump the brakes a few times, see what the hell happens. What size are we looking at here, 10? Do we think it's 10? Are they gonna put metric stuff on here? Because it's a new caliper? Feels loose. Let's try 3/8. Oh, it's 3/8. All right. So it's cracked loose. I'm gonna go pump the brake pedal. You'll see what happens before I do. Wow, it's full of fluid, so that's great. I'm gonna tighten this thing up. All right, now I got that tightened. So now I'm gonna go pump the brake pedal and see if this thing actually feels all right. hot damn. I think that worked. All right, so let's pull this off. We're gonna put the old kombucha aside. All right, so now we're gonna throw this back together and move to the other side. All right, fine. I'll clean up this edge a little bit and throw some paint on it or something. I'm unhappy about it though. I hate doing stuff like that. Hey. Now, I'm not the guy that blasts these on here with this thing, because this will do like 1,000 foot-pounds or whatever. I'm actually going to use a torque wrench. Most wheels are torqued to around 100 foot-pounds. I'm not going to look this up because it's a 72 Le Mans and nobody cares. So I'm going to torque it to 100 foot-pounds and we'll see what the hell happens. I don't remember what size this was. That's the one though. So this one didn't even have a clip on it holding it to the frame. I don't know if that was because it simply didn't reach or if it broke off at some point. Either way, pretty dangerous. So, hopefully, we're going to resolve that issue. Whoa! Alright, hold that tight for just a moment. And scrape this off a little bit. Now, a lot of people will probably saying, Jeremy, you're a hack. Like, why don't you clean this stuff up and make it pretty? You're trying to make a cool muscle car here, right? And you're right, I am. But I just don't want to spend a ton of time on this. I just want it to function. Because cars that are busted in your driveway are not nearly as fun as drivable ones that are crappy. So my goal is to make this a crappy drivable car, and then I can go back and I can make it pretty. That way I don't spend the rest of my life working on this thing without driving it. Okay, so now I just gotta come up with a clip for this top half. Let me go see if I can find one of those. Alright, so because I tend to hoard a lot of weird automotive stuff, I found 3 of these clips. I don't know which one's gonna work. I'm gonna guess the smallest one. I'm gonna try it on the bottom first here. Oh yeah, that's the one. Alright, so I'm gonna set these aside. Push it up through the hole. Mint. All right, so now I'm just gonna tighten up that brake hose on the top because I didn't do that yet. And then I'll bleed the brakes again. We'll see where I'm at. Come on. Bleeder screw is absolutely messed up. All right. We're looking good. Gonna crack this loose. Now we're gonna pump the pedal. Things happening. All right, let's seal this up. All right, pedal feels mint, so I'm gonna just make sure that's tight. And I'm gonna take this thing off. All right, so with the brake hoses all done, now one of the next things that is making me aggravated anytime I work on this is not having an OBD2 connector inside the car. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wire this to be inside the car instead of under the hood. All right, so one of the first things I want to do is make sure I can get this to work under the hood properly, and then once I can do that, I'm going to hook it up under the dashboard. So I've plugged in my scan tool into the OBD2 port, and then I've hooked up the white and the black wire to a ground. The red wire, I stuffed it in the power, and then the green, or actually the purple, yeah, the purple wire is connected to the green wire, which goes to the PCM. So, is this a 2003 Silverado 2500 HD? Yes, it is. All right, let's see. We're gonna say no ABS, because why not? We just wanna see if it connects properly and gives us some engine data. If it does, then I'm just gonna unplug these things and throw it onto the dash, drill a couple holes, and we should be in business. All right, misfire monitor stuff, good. Read codes. No codes found. Wow, that's surprising. All right, let's view the data. Entire data list. Okay, great. So we have some engine data here. The engine's obviously off, so we're not going to know RPM or anything like that. But you can see that we have map system, coolant temp. Let's see, what else? O2 sensor. More or less, it's connected. So, all right, let's mount this under the dash and hook it up. All right, down under here, under the dashboard, you can see there's two wires that are connected here and cut off. So I'm gonna pull this bolt out, and I'm gonna use that spot to mount this OBD2 connector. And then I'll probably someday, or maybe never, hook up the other, or put another bolt through the other side. But for right now, I just want it temporarily in the car, and I just want it to work in the car. I don't want it under the hood. So, let's take this out and mount the sucker in place. As if by magic, it's already attached. Can you believe how fast that was? So now, I gotta run these wires to someplace, because I need to get power and ground to them. Ground should be nice and easy. Power, maybe I can grab power from this fuse box back there. And then I need to get the actual connection, like the data feed connection, under the hood. So let's run some wires. All right, so I got the data wire into the Lemans. And now I'm gonna look on this fuse box and see if I can find a wire that turns on with the accessories, which is basically with the key. Now this one says ACC next to it, so I'm assuming that when I turn the key, this is gonna light up. Now I'm just stabbing a test light into it. Let's see what happens. Ta-da! All right, so I know that this wire has power when I turn the key on. And when I turn it off, it does not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a spade connector on the power wire for the OBD2 connector and put it right on this ACC pin in the fuse box. Under the dash, you can see the OBD2 connector is now screwed into the dash. And then I have the power wire plugged into the accessory right here on the fuse panel. Then I have the ground hooked up to a screw on the fuse panel. And then I hooked up the green wire, and it totally works. So now I can plug in the scan tool inside the car, and it will be less of a pain in the butt when I'm trying to figure out why the engine doesn't work right. So that's my excitement for right now, and I think I'm calling this one a day. Hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing the car again. I know I enjoyed working on it. I'm happy that the brake hoses are hooked up. That means I don't have to worry about turning the wheel anymore. And the OBD2 port is now hooked up, which is awesome. So next time, I think I might dive into the transmission pan. I'm not really excited about doing that because it's going to make a giant mess. They always do. So I'm probably going to do that next, even though I don't really want to. Anyways, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and we will see you next time. All right, see ya.